All right, and joining us now from out in his office at Globe Life Field is Texas Rangers General Manager Chris Young. Chris, thanks so much for stopping down and coming on with us today.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Happy to be with you.
Yeah, I've been trying to get you, and you're a busy man. It's got to be exciting. It's a good busy.
No, it is, Jeff. It has been a good busy. It's been, the first calendar year. So much of it has been new to me. That said, I think it's made the year go fast, and never quite knowing what to expect with every month. But nonetheless, here we are, kind of 11 months in for me, and certainly have seen most aspects of the job at this point, and it's been very, very exciting and enjoyable, and I've learned a ton.
Well, good. I just said this before you came on. I'm pretty excited. The World Series is over. We're in that 5-day window, and then all hell's going to break loose potentially. And I know it goes slow, but still, you're gonna get. This is going to be a busy offseason for the Rangers, and it's about to get going.
Yeah, that's I'm excited for it as well. I think that we have a lot to look forward to. I think that we've got some really creative opportunities here to improve our club and give our fans a reason to get excited. And certainly, we're looking forward to it. How that's going to play out, it's still to be determined. But yes, it's we're close to the starting point right now, and excited to get going here.
All right, so yeah, you started December 4th last year, I think. Kind of weird because we're in the middle of COVID. It was before the vaccine, as before anybody knew what was going on. So I don't want to say you're a stranger, but I don't know that you've had a chance to maybe get out and be as visible as you'd want to be. How has that affected things, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has impacted the ability. I think in certain ways it's impacted the ability to be in person and establish personal connections and relationships. I think in other ways it's connected us in different ways electronically, similar to what we're doing right now. So, I think Zoom is a tool that we probably haven't utilized in the past to the extent that we can to keep each other connected. And I think it's something moving forward that we'll be able to. But yes, I love being out in the field. I love being around and getting to know our personnel, our players, our staff. I think as we return to sort of a more normal lifestyle, I'll be able to do more of that. And I enjoy it. I look forward to it.
So the ledger will show forever that your first season was 102 losses.
Congratulations.
What are the positives that came out of the 2021 season?
Well, I think that there were several. First and foremost, that it's behind us. I think it's it was the roughest year we're going to have. I think it was expected to a degree, and even though it was expected, it did not make it easy. It certainly was painful. Every single loss, as they piled up, stretches where we lost 10, 12 games in a row. It was really, really tough. And, knowing that is hopefully behind us, that we have good times to look forward to, that it's going to get better from here. That first and foremost, I think is something that is a positive, that it's just the worst is over. I think we had two main goals going into the season. The first of which was to reestablish our culture, our identity, what we're about. I think that Woody and our major league coaches did a great job of really committing to that and reestablishing that. I think that our players were terrific. We lost 102 games, but our players did not quit. They did not give in. They fought. They played hard. They played the game the right way. We were just out-talented to an extent. And certainly, as we expect to add more talent, we continue to play the game that way, play the game the right way. The wins will happen, and I'm very confident in that. Thirdly, I think that we found out about some of our core players moving forward. We kind of got a peek at some of the guys who are going to be part of this years to come, and we're excited about the future there. And I think we've got a lot of work to do in adding to some of those players, but certainly we saw some positive things and good seasons from young players who got opportunities, who may not otherwise would have had those opportunities without the commitment to this rebuild.
Yeah, the culture thing and the playing hard. I mean, that's something you've harped on. And John and I say it every episode when we talk about minor leaguers, about what just unbelievable like kids these are. Like, they're mature.
Yeah.
They they get it. It just seems like, you know, I'm just overwhelmed by it. Like the Jack Leiter press conference just knocked my doors off. I couldn't I couldn't fathom being that composed at his age. So what is it about the character that you think is so essential? Was there a team that you were on that you're like, this is how baseball should be?
Yeah, Jeff, I mean, it's really not just even a professional team. It's kind of going back to, you know, all good teams that I've been part of, whether it was in high school, college, minor leagues, and then into the professional ranks. There were certain similarities and traits that those teams exhibited. And that was, you know, really a respect for each other, a respect for the game, and playing the game the right way. And I'm a firm believer in that. And it's up to us to choose the right personnel who embody those traits, but also to create an environment and expectation to set really, really high standards for everybody. That mediocrity is not acceptable. We are here to really be part of something special, to build something special. And I understand it's hard for fans to understand that when we've lost 102 games, but nobody here was satisfied with the results, and our players weren't satisfied. So as we continue to foster that environment, I you know, to the contrary, I've been on other teams, especially professionally, that were, you know, that were under 500, and there was a complacency. There was a satisfaction with being, you know, just, hey, it's okay. We're in the big leagues. It's all right. And that's the difference between good organizations and ones that, you know, really can't climb out of these things. So setting those high standards and reestablishing who we are and what we're about and how we go about it. I was very, very pleased with our group despite the losses.
Yeah, the one thing I think the analytics era has brought on is that, at least in my opinion, is that people think players are in a vacuum, and that you can drop any player in any situation, and that chemistry gets disregarded. And I as a player, I'd assume that you can't not have a good chemistry. The whole thing won't work.
Jeff, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, I just, especially in baseball, I have a theory that chemistry in baseball is maybe more important than chemistry in any other sport. And the reason is that our players spend so much time together. I mean, you've seen the lifestyle. You understand that these guys show up at noon or 1 o'clock and they're here till after midnight. And they're in and around each other for 12 hours a day. They're on the team plane. They see each other every day. And if you don't have a group that really gets along, that cares for one another, if you have guys who really don't fit in or distractions, they take away from the environment. The players instead start focusing on what those guys are doing instead of what they need to do to be prepared that night. But when you have a group that really understands what the expectation is, how to go about it on a daily basis, how to put the team first and create that culture where it's about the team and it's not about the individual, it goes a long way. And I think we saw that a little bit with Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta just won the World Series, and you talk about, they just had some, you know, a magical run that came together at the right time. And I think it's a perfect example. I felt that way in Kansas City in 2015 when we won the World Series. We were not the most talented team, but we were the best team. We were the team that played the game the right way, that fought for one another, that were inspired on a daily basis by one another. And that's what we're trying to create. And you're right, that's really hard to quantify, but it's also what makes it great and why I want us to create that type of environment with our group.
Yeah, and that's not just the players, it's the coaches as well. And you guys just made a pretty significant hire on the bench coach with Donnie Eckert. I just wanted to get your thoughts on kind of how he fits into that, but also what, you know, he's an offensive guy, but he's also going to be Chris Woodward's right-hand man, and they need to mesh. And I just wondered what your thoughts are on how that's going to look.
Yeah, Jeff, it's another great question because it was a significant hire for us, and Donnie really fits every quality that we wanted in terms of a bench coach, in terms of his leadership and his ability to be an extension of Chris Woodward, to reinforce daily the messages, the standards, the expectations.
Hey, Chris, you're breaking up.
Can you hear me?
He's breaking. He's fine here. Is
Looks
that
like
you?
Jeff, that may be on Jeff.
Yeah,
John, I
Jeff.
can hear you perfectly.
I can hear you perfectly too.
Uh-oh, we may have lost Jeff here.
Yes.
Shall I continue with my response or do we wait for Jeff? What do you want to do?
Are you there? You are, Jeff. You're
Oh,
back.
Jeff, you're back.
Can you hear us, Jeff? They had a power outage, Chris, earlier.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah, Jeff, you back? Uh-oh.
Hey, Jeff, let me text him real quick. Let's see here. He said, keep going.
All right.
Just keep going with your answer.
He'll be back in a minute, but yeah, continuing on Donnie Eckert, he's, the bench coach, he's an extension of Chris Woodward in terms of establishing, setting high standards and expectations, holding people accountable, really being Woody's eyes and ears on a daily basis. And then on top of that, what he brings in terms of our offensive game planning and the ability to impact the game and the preparation and prepare our players to win on a nightly basis, how we're going to compete, how we're going to go out and offensively attack the other team. So, I think it's a great addition to our club. I think he matches all of our values, and I'm really, really excited that he's now a part of our group. I think he's going to make each one of us better, myself included.
I wasn't there for the press conference when Donnie came in. Was Chris a part of that? I'm assuming. Obviously, this is his bench coach. How much was he a part of that?
Oh yeah, Woody was a part of the whole decision-making process. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story about we were in our pro scout meetings a couple weeks ago in Arizona, and we meet all day long, and Woody was seated next to me. And for our afternoon session, Woody disappeared for about 3 hours. And Woody lives in Arizona, so I'm sitting there thinking, where did Woody go? Did he go home? Where how could he be gone this long? What's going on? We're having important discussions about our personnel decisions for next season. We need our big league manager here. And finally, he comes back in and he whispers, I was on the phone with Donnie. And so Woody had spent 3 hours on a call with Donnie. It was not an interview at that point. It was simply we had permission to speak with him, and Woody was introducing himself. And they spent 3 hours connecting. And I knew right then, that was a pretty good sign, and was really, really excited to debrief. I talked to Donnie later that night, and we spent over an hour just doing the same thing. We didn't even talk baseball. We talked life, and it was such an instant connection. And I knew immediately he fit what we're trying to do here. And that's, that's in part why we're really excited about him.
Jeff?
I'm back. I'm back. It's been a heck of a technology day at the Wilson residence. We had a 2 hours without power, and then this. So I'm on my phone, which kind of changes the angle and everything. But that's cool.
Well, we can still see your Masters flag in the background.
Yeah, well, that's what's most important. Me and Ben Hogan back there. So what's the timeline on the hitting coach and the assistant hitting coach?
Yeah, we're in the process right now. We've interviewed several candidates. We're continuing to interview several more, and we're hoping that in the next, really week to 10 days that we can have that wrapped up and have some clarity as to our big league staff for the 2022 season.
Are there internal candidates who are candidates?
We have talked to internal candidates, but at this point we're focused on the external candidates. But certainly yes, there have been.
Yeah. Well, there is value in continuity, and what Donnie's going to do as the offensive coordinator, from what we're told, is going to trickle down. And Cody Atkinson, who I know a lot of prospects are very high on, if he's given the message, I think it helps out throughout the system. So I can understand that, but it's important to have the same message filter throughout, is it not?
Yeah, Jeff, you're absolutely right. We are very focused on that element of continuity and creating consistent messaging throughout our entire organization. I think that's something that we certainly want to improve, both on the offensive and defensive sides, of having the same philosophies. I think we've done it a little bit better on the pitching side than the hitting, but I think this presents a great opportunity for us to create even better continuity on the hitting side from the major leagues throughout our entire system.
Yeah, it seems like the way the message is delivered has changed. Maybe coaches have had the technology.
Speaking of
It
technology,
just seems like there's an emphasis on maybe the players weren't getting the message. Fuck.
hey, yeah,
Well, we caught that one, Jeff.
yeah,
Oh, good.
we caught the F-bomb. So my editing skills.
Leave it in. Anyway, what I was saying is, it seems like there's a much more emphasis on getting the message to the players because the message has changed so much. It just seems like maybe that wasn't happening and now it has to happen, and that you have to have guys who understand the message to give it to the players.
Yeah, look, I think there's a number of reasons for this. I think that, as you look at kind of our industry on the whole, pitching has probably outpaced hitting in terms of the advancements, the improvements, both technologically and in terms of the performance. I mean, and so I think that creating that continuity and finding ways to message different things, and then also there's a game planning element to it as well. So getting everybody on the same page as both individually, this is what you're trying to do, and collectively, this is what we are trying to do on a nightly basis to win the game. I think that's really, really key. I think that's one of the areas Donnie really excelled. And I'm looking forward to implementing, having him implement a lot of that here. I think that's, it's so important that each player understands who they are and what their strengths are and what they have to do when they step in the batter's box. But likewise, as an offense collectively, how we strategically are going to beat the opposing pitcher.
All right. I'm going to get out of the way here. That's all the baseball I've got. I'm standing by, but
All right.
John's going to get us on the lighter side here.
Yeah, mine's more fun. I like to talk more about you, Chris, and your career and everything. Yeah, but I got to ask this because there's actually a something in, you may remember this. You're not going to remember me, but remember this. First of all, Stafford and Kershaw, they're younger than you, right?
Correct.
How were they in high school at all with you? Were you like a senior and they were in freshmen, or?
No, I was 8 years older. So I hate to say that I was in high school and they were in elementary school, but
did you know their families or anything? Highland Park's a little tight.
Yeah, I'm very close with Clayton. Do not know Stafford at all, but very, very close with Clayton. Know he and his wife Ellen and their family, and they live not far from us, and see him frequently. Okay.
Well, the reason I do remember one time when the year Stafford took them to the state championship, I went out to watch Stafford play Stephenville and you were there.
Yes.
They were playing Stephenville up in Denton.
That's right.
You sat one row behind me. I'm short and fat. I hope I didn't get in your way.
I could see over you. Fortunately.
Were you able to get over me? Okay. And see that. So now let me ask you this, basketball and baseball, I read where you had some power and you DH'd. How many home runs did you hit in high school?
I think I only hit one. I was a doubles hitter, John.
Because of speed? You're just a speed.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. Now this was interesting to me. I know everybody knows you went to Princeton and you played basketball and baseball. You were the first freshman to win the Ivy League Rookie of the Year for 2 sports, for both basketball and baseball. Was baseball your first love or was basketball?
Both. I always said, baseball sort of chose me. I loved whichever season it was, whichever sport I was playing at the time was my favorite. And, and frankly, It was something I did my whole life. I grew up playing both sports, similar to my kids right now. I knew nothing different. So the idea that you could only play one sport in college, the seasons overlapped a little bit, but really why? It puzzled me as to why there were limitations there. So, it was one of the main criteria as I came out of high school that I was only going to a school where I could play both sports. I was good enough to play both and was not going to limit myself. Only when you get to sort of the professional level did the seasons overlap too much and the talent is so high that I knew I'd have to make a choice.
Well, let me ask
Chris,
you. Go ahead, Jeff.
Did Pete Carrell recruit you, or was it Bill Carmody?
It was Bill Carmody. Pete Carrell had retired 2 years before I got there. It was Bill Carmody and Jeff. They were coming off a season in which they had gone, I think 28-1. I think they had only lost one game the year before I got there. They made it to, I think, the Sweet 16 or anyway, they had a phenomenal year the year before I got there. And so certainly the basketball program was, there was great appeal to go there and be part of a great special program and potentially, play 4 years in the NCAA tournament.
Do you remember the Georgetown Princeton 116 game? It was in the late 80s. Well, no, it was Iverson. So do you remember watching that?
No, it was, I don't think it was Mourning, right? And it was 89.
Okay, yeah.
It was 89 and Mourning had a block shot at the buzzer to seal a Georgetown victory. But I did not remember that. I learned it through Princeton history.
Okay.
But we did play Georgetown my freshman year. And so I remember that Georgetown game. And we beat Georgetown, but nobody cares about that one because it was in the NIT tournament.
Yeah. No, I remember I was in a little Italian restaurant in Denver watching it on a black and white TV. So I remember. Yeah. Anyway,
that's cool. Yeah, that's a special part of Princeton history, and certainly they're that game and the UCLA game when Princeton upset UCLA are very, very memorable in Princeton history.
I've got a story for that one too. I was in Las Vegas, and everybody had the under because it was Princeton, and the game went to overtime, and it was going to be over and everybody's going to lose their bets. And there's one guy, all the TVs, it was the leg game. So all the TVs were on the Princeton game. And there was a guy, every time they were shooting free throws, he was standing up and trying to distract them, even though they're on TV and thousands of miles away. But that's, those are my two Princeton stories.
That's a great memory. The fact that you can remember that game is pretty impressive, Jeff. That fan specifically.
Well, I probably had the under too, but
hey, when you came out of college, you were obviously a good athlete. So you said that was the only school that offered you both, said you could play both.
No, that wasn't the only school, but it was a criteria for every school.
Okay. What other schools recruited you? Did you have offers from any Power 5 schools?
Yeah, my top three choices were Princeton, Vanderbilt, and the University of Texas, and was going to play both sports at all three of those. Texas and Vanderbilt were scholarship schools, so basketball would have supplied the scholarship. I would have been a free player for the baseball program.
Right.
But ultimately decided Princeton was the right fit for a number of reasons. The balance between both sports and the academics. The seasons didn't overlap as much either up north. So the Princeton baseball team started a little bit later. I wouldn't miss as much of the baseball season. And just felt like it was a good opportunity to go to an institution that probably would not have otherwise been able to get into if I didn't have basketball and baseball to help me.
I read an interesting thing. So you were drafted in the third round by the Pirates, and you negotiated into your contract before you signed that you were going to be able to finish your degree. Now, did you do your own negotiation, or did you have an agent at the time?
No, I had an agent, but that was also, one of the strict criteria I had to sign professionally is that I would play pro baseball in the summers. And then once the season was over, I'd go back to campus and continue my education to complete my degree. It was very, very important to me that I got my degree. I was not walking away from the 2 years I had put into to Princeton academically. And frankly, my expectation when I signed was that I wanted to play professional baseball until I was 40 years old. Right. At that point, hopefully be married with children. And I didn't envision taking them back to a college campus to finish my degree. So knew I needed to get it done while I was playing.
Well, you did.
Is that the Jack Leiter plan?
It's very similar, Jeff. That was why, as we negotiated with Jack, it was something that I, have lived and done. I knew it can be done. Frankly, as we looked at Jack's workload totals over the course of this past spring and summer, we knew we were going to shut him down. He wasn't going to pitch. So it made perfect sense to allow him to go back to campus and work towards his degree.
So you played 13 years. What was your plan if baseball or pro sports didn't work for you? What were you studying? What were you going to do? Politics?
Oh, that's a great question. I never really had a fallback plan. I never knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I loved playing both sports. I wanted to be a professional athlete, and it never really crossed my mind that it may not happen. So, John, I was very, very fortunate that I've been able to live out my dream. I was a politics major. And that was by default more than interest. If I could do it over again, I would have done psychology. It's much more applicable to what I'm doing now. And, but in the end, I had to choose something. I quickly realized at Princeton, my freshman year, after my first econ exam, that I was not going to be an economics major, that these kids that were, preparing to go to Wall Street were much smarter than me, and they didn't have to study as hard. And so I quickly switched majors, and it was between politics and history, and chose politics. So, but psychology, if I could do it all over again, would have been my major of choice.
Okay, so this is going to throw everybody for a loop because it threw me for a loop. I met you first time you came down, and we were given access to the field finally as media. And you came down one day and we talked to you, and you were just so nice as you were. And every time every interaction, this interview now, just what a great guy you are, such a nice guy. Are you and Derek Lee cool now? Or are y'all friends now? Let's go back to June 16th, 2007. You guys had a brawl. That's out of character.
John, if you asked any of my teammates, it was absolutely not out of character. They said I took on a different personality between the lines, and but I will tell you this, to answer your question. Yes, Derek and I are on great terms. He's someone I greatly respect. He had a tremendous career. He was a tremendous person, first and foremost, and but also a great baseball player. And while we don't keep in touch, we did mend the fence over what was a big misunderstanding, and frankly, it was the biggest regret of my career. I look back on that now and think about, I was a young player. I was in an intimidating environment at Wrigley Field. There was a misunderstanding over a hit by pitch. He certainly was upset. I felt like he didn't have, he was, I didn't understand why he was upset. And I felt like I can't back down. I'm sort of a alpha male type mentality in a competitive environment. And, it led to a brawl. Fortunately, neither one of us landed punches. He threw a great right that just missed me, and then I responded with one that just missed him, fortunately, and we got separated. But truly, he did actually something really, really touching the next year. It speaks a lot to his character. I had gotten hit in the face with a line drive, and it was by Albert Pujols and the St. Louis Cardinals. The next series, the Cubs came in town, and he sought me out to check in, see how I was doing. It really was touching. It meant a lot, and I'll never forget it. It speaks to sort of his character and who he is. And, ultimately, these things happen in the heat of competition, but I do regret it, especially now that my kids can Google it. I get often asked to sign the photo. I never signed it, never once signed it, because I didn't want to be disrespectful to Derek. I just didn't. So I've never autographed that picture and never will.
Well, it's a great segue into your family that we're going to end it on. First of all, you know what, Jeff, you and I were pondering this. The night at DBU, your son was there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. Playing with when I caught you there, when I was leaving. How old is he?
He's 9 years old. Yeah. He looks like he's 13, but he's 9.
Cause Henry's there, and he's what, how old's Henry?
9. 10? Yeah. My son's there. He was 9.
I don't know where your son gets his height from, but no, I'm kidding. But I was asking Jeff, I go, you think he's the same age as Henry? He goes, no, he's got to be 12 or 13.
So Grant, that was Grant, my youngest. Grant is, he's my little guy, and he's got all of Dad's worst qualities, which may serve him well later in life, but he is a challenge. He, I brought him to the game thinking we'd sit in the stands and watch the game. And as soon as he saw the grassy area down down to the right, he immediately knew, okay, there's a spot for Dad and I to play. And
Yeah.
actually it's the beauty of what I do, is that he doesn't view Dad as having a cool job because he's the general manager of the Texas Rangers. Dad is cool because we can go to fields and play together, and that's what I love about it. So it makes it special, but it's also hard when he's telling me what to do. He's very passionate, and he's telling me, Dad, don't even think about trading Joey Gallo. So he loves these guys, and he's as invested as anybody in this team. But it's been a lot of fun for me and my family. And I think for my wife too, despite the 102 losses.
Well, and that's what I wanted to end on was your wife. Am I hearing this right? Your wife's from a hockey family, right? Is that right?
My wife comes from a hockey family. She's long history of hockey tradition in her family. In fact, I think she has 4 family members in the Hockey Hall of Fame. So,
holy moly!
Yeah, her maiden name is Patrick, as in the Patrick Division, formerly of the NHL Patrick Division. So, she is. She didn't know much about baseball when we first started dating, but now she's more versed in baseball than she is hockey.
That's good. So are you a big hockey fan now? I mean, obviously is your father-in-law still involved?
My father-in-law is. My father-in-law is the president of the Washington Capitals, and he's been there since 1982. He may be at this point the longest standing executive in sports, on the hockey ops side. It's pretty remarkable. He's had a tremendous, distinguished career, highlighted by winning the Stanley Cup in 2018. And
right.
It's really, I'm very fortunate to have him as sort of a mentor to me in terms of the sports world and giving me advice on, all the ups and downs.
So you got to lift the cup.
I did. I was very conscientious. I didn't feel like I had earned the right to touch the Stanley Cup, but certainly really, really was special to see, him and his life's work getting that opportunity. It was really neat. And I hope awesome. That, I hope to have the same experience as a Texas Ranger and seeing our team and our fans holding the World Series trophy. It's going to be very special when it happens.
I agree.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, I think so. And they're on the right track for sure, especially the minor league system right now is at the top of where it's been in a long, long time. And so I'm telling you, the depth in pitching, we talked about that, Jeff, good Lord, it's just crazy how good the pitching is. Well, Chris, I think we have kept you long enough, and you came on here and the hard-hitting questions about fighting and hockey.
The hardest hitting question was Jeff when he brought up my first year record here. I've got a lot of work to get over 500. So I'm gonna remember that, Jeff.
I hope you do.
Well, guys, that's Chris Young, the general manager of the Texas Rangers. Chris, thanks so much for taking your time out of your day to do this, and we will see you out at the yard there.
Guys, thanks so much for having me. I enjoyed it.